Hello there and good evening. It's Phil. Welcome to my Star Trek Discovery spoiler review for the final episode. I do want to apologize for those of you that do follow the channel and watch the videos. I was a bit sick the last couple of weeks, so I did not do any reviews for, I guess, the last three episodes. And it was a real shame because some of them were really great. Probably the one where Pike sees his future, that was the best. A few of them I thought was a little too soap operish for my taste, but decent. The last episode was absolute filler, and no, I did not like it. So I was really happy with this finale. It was extremely exciting, extremely, heart thumping, and that's what Star Trek Discovery's been doing better than anything is the action stuff, but not making it stupid action stuff, just making it evolve and develop and get from point A to point B in the quickest and best way possible. In this episode, had a whole lot of action and a whole lot of excitement, but it never felt overwhelming. We got great character moments. We got great hero moments in this episode. So I'm just going to talk quickly about all of that. This is going to be a short video. One, because I'm losing my voice, and two, because I thought I had recorded uh, just now, but I didn't. So this is take two. So I don't feel like talking for 20 minutes once again. So here we go. Star Trek Discovery, final episode. I give it, oh man, I think I'm going to give it a 10. I'm just going to go and give it a 10. I have not given a 10 for a Star Trek Discovery episode thus far. This one earned it 100 times better than last season's finale, which was just a mess. But this one was great. It got all of the questions answered. They delivered on their promise. They delivered on the promise of how it links up to canon for all those it's not canon warriors out there. It's canon, guys. I mean, those of us that don't live in some other dimension, knew that from the start. But yes, this is canon. Star Trek Discovery took place. All the events of Star Trek Discovery took place in the same timeline that leads up to 1966, Captain Kirk and Spock, and then later gets us to the Next Generation and Voyager and Deep Space Nine, and even the prequel series Star Trek Enterprise. It's all in the same universe, in the same timeline. In this episode, just explained it for those that are too hard-headed to accept it. Excuse me. So here we go. I mean, it started with the battle. That's where it promised to start off after last week's filler episode, which was like a telenovela. Oh my God, that was a bad episode. But this one said, forget all that. Let's get to the meat. We have the Enterprise and the Discovery against about 30, Section 31 ships. But then they have these little drones that come out and they're attacking. And it was like a light show in the sky. So much going on at once, but it never felt overwhelming. And that's a credit to the producers, directors, where they've been really good at doing the action stuff, the space battle stuff, where they're flexing their muscle to show, hey, look at our special effects, look at how good we can make this look, but you don't feel lost in it like it's, wow, what's going on? No. It dragged on for an hour, but they had moments inside the ships, the two respective ships, Enterprise and Discovery, which were important to the battle plot. So it was really well done. It was really well done. We did have a sacrifice because you need one of those, right, for finale. So goodbye, Admiral Cornwell. Loved you. But she sacrificed herself to save everyone in the Enterprise because the Enterprise got torpedo lodged in it, which was really insane. I didn't get exactly why it didn't blow up, but there you go. But she sacrificed herself for the Enterprise. We had Stamets get really hurt and taken to sick bay, and him and Hugh kind of make up and realize that, hey, we're family. And there was a lot of family. They said family a lot in this episode, so that was a big theme of this episode. Meanwhile, Michael Burnham, she exited the Discovery and is trying to go into the future. It's a little harder than she imagined. And in that moment, when they lowered the shields for her to leave, we got Leland going into the Discovery to try to find the sphere data, which led me to ponder something, which is, if the whole point of taking Discovery into the future is to get away from Leland and the AI, wouldn't it defeat the purpose to do it while he's in the Discovery, even though he does get his ass kicked by Giorgio? And they had a great fight scene where the gravity was kind of lost in a section of the ship because it was so beat up, and it reminded me a little bit of Inception, where they're fighting kind of 360. It was kind of a throwback to that fight sequence in that movie, Nolan Ryan movie. But it was great, Michelle Yeoh doing her thing as usual as Giorgio, and she traps him inside the spore drive, magnetizes it, boom. We got all these little nanobots stuck to the floor, but then it's like, man, I mean, can't they just find another host if they escape that containment? Are they going to bury the spore drive in some sand dunes somewhere in the future? Who knows? He did say it's not over. So who knows what's going to go on with that. But the big storyline, of course, is Michael Burnham. She's got to open up a portal into the future, but she realizes she can't do it. And Spock works out that, hey, the only reason you can't go into the future is because technically you haven't gone into the past yet to set the signals. And that's where, man, time travel episodes, you just kind of accept it because there's so many conundrums and contradictions and paradoxes that go along with time travel, the wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff that is involved with time travel. Because I don't get too wrapped up with it. I just try to enjoy the narrative and the drama for what it is. And also, I'm not an astrophysicist, so I don't know all the mechanics of time travel and time. But just the basic, you kind of, like the grandmother effect or whatever they call that. If you kill your grandmother in the past, are you going to be erased from history? So the basic stuff, yeah, we all kind of know. So when he said that, it just made me think, like, wait a second. If she's traveling to the past to set the signals because she never had set them until that point, yeah, like, I guess she always knew that she had to go back. Like, how would she know to go to the specific places? She only knew it because the Michael Burnham of the past saw the signals and informs herself in the present to go into those moments in the past. Oh, my brain is hurting already, guys. Yeah, it was one of those things. It's like she couldn't have known to have gone back to those specific spots if she hadn't seen herself. But how could have, oh, see, I'm even losing the ability to speak thinking about this. But you get what I'm saying. Just made me pause for a second and say, what the hell? But she goes back. Really well done, these sequences where she's traveling back in time. Sets the signals. Is back in the present. Therefore, she can now go into the future. You got all that? And After battle, 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 I mean, the whole episode was just one big old battle scene. And probably the best battle scene. Maybe, well, I mean, Star Trek Deep Space Nine Dominion War battle. That's pretty great too. But really, really awesome battle scene in all of Star Trek canon. And while the battle's going on, finally she's able to go into the future, open the portal. Discovery follows behind her, and there we go. And that's when I was thinking to myself, oh, this is what everybody's been wanting, the connection to that short track Calypso, where the Discovery is 1,000 years into the future, the AI has evolved, etc., etc. But what we get instead is Discovery goes into the time portal. Because Leland is dead, or the nano robots, whatever, have been disabled, all the fleet, those little drones are all dead in the water. So the Enterprise just starts shooting them like, fish in a barrel. And then we get a flash forward to Starfleet. Oh, I forgot to mention, we got, of course, great battle. We need those last minute saves. Just like speaking of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, when the Romulans, they show up at the last minute, you need the last minute save. In a certain other show that copies Star Trek a lot, their two-part episode ended with their version of the Klingons too showing up at the last minute. So it's a very common trope in these space battle stuff. You gotta have those last minute saves. Han Solo, at the end of A New Hope. And yeah, we got the Klingons coming in. And guess what, man? These Klingons, I'm finally starting to dig the visuals. It took me a while. I like that the producers listen to the fans, and they did such a great job at reimagining the other species while still making them recognizable. They took a chance in season 1 of just doing something totally different with the Klingons, but I think it went too far. Now there's still, the Discovery Klingons, but they look a little bit less jarring, a little bit closer to, hey, what I would expect an update of the Klingons would look like. Just like with the Telosians, the update of them looks like. Or even the Starship Enterprise, which looks beautiful. The update, the 2019 visual for the Star Trek Enterprise, but it's still the Enterprise. So I like that. Of course, L'Rell is still, because they can't change her that much. They did obviously do a few things to make her soften her makeup a little bit more. But the Klingons that they showed with her when she showed up on that the Queen ship, which is huge. It looked like something out of the first Avengers movie when those aliens came out of those big ass snake ships came out of the portal. They look kind of cool, man. I dug them. So this is the first time I'm like, ooh, I kind of dug these Klingons. And I did dig the ones on the little time temple Klingons. They were kind of cool too. So I like that they're course correcting along the way, which is fine. I mean, that's what shows do. You can't expect. Well, some shows you kind of do expect it to be ready and great from episode 1. But something as expansive and as grand and full of everything, full of lore and so many versions of as Star Trek is, it's almost impossible to get it right from the first episode. I mean, there's so many different masters you have to serve when you're dealing with something as big as Star Trek. It's probably the same as with Star Wars. So took them a while, but I think they finally got it. But here we go. We got the flash forward. San Francisco, Starfleet, headquarters. The crew of the Enterprise is being debriefed about what the hell happened out there. And they've all united to not say what happened out there. One, because they want to protect the fact that the Discovery went into the future. I mean, I guess they have regulations against time stuff, right? Although, yeah, tell that to the writers of Star Trek from the last 50 years. But okay, they do have some regulations, on paper at least, about the temporal time directive and all that stuff. Or the temporal directive, whatever it's called. So they're like, let's keep our mouths shut about the fact that the Enterprise, oh, sorry, the Star Trek Discovery, the Starship Discovery, traveled into the future. And that Michael Burnham went into the future in a time suit. Best to keep our mouths shut about that too. And that an AI almost took over all of the universe. Best to keep our mouths shut about that too, because all this information could be very dangerous. And we don't want people to go chasing after this technology. We don't want people to mess with time. So there you go, all you canon warriors. That answers why it is that you never heard of the Star Trek. Keep saying Star Trek. The Starship Discovery. Why you never heard of the Spore Drive. Why Spock never mentions his sister. Because they're dead. None of that existed. Okay? So let's just keep our mouths shut about it. Although, I mean, we could make the argument of, well, before all this went down, I mean, she was still just a regular officer in Starfleet. So why not talk about her like before then, and then she just died in battle? But alright, whatever. They decided, let's just keep our mouths shut about these people as much as possible. So we don't have to bring up, or have to deal with questions that maybe we don't want to give answers to. So that makes sense. Okay? So that's why Michael Burnham not mentioned. The Starship Discovery itself not mentioned. Never existed. It's great. It didn't feel shoehorned in. Well written. Well done. Congratulations, producers. And especially congratulations for delivering on your promise where they said you're going to see how it all lines up to canon. Even though for those of us who aren't living in another dimension, we already knew it was canon. But for those that are very hard-headed and follow Midnight's Edge and whatever, what's that, Doomcock and all these wacky people, hey, it's canon. Do you get it now? It's Prime. We're in the same timeline. Except that the Discovery now is way into the future. So maybe you're going to be happy with Season 3. Because the technology is going to fit the times 1,000 years in the future. Ugh. Anyway. Thing is, though, after they skip forward from the scenes at Starfleet, we get more Starship Enterprise. We don't know what happens to the Discovery. And we get Pike and number 1, and Spock shaves down, which, by the way, I kind of like Spock, where this actor, I like him with the beard. He has a very thin face. The beard kind of fills his face out a little bit more, but whatever. So they've been kind of waiting to see a signal in the sky just to make sure that the Discovery made it. But then again, wouldn't Starfleet, because Starfleet noticed the first signs in the first place, wouldn't they notice another red signal? I don't know. So, yes, there's little plot holes or little questions that you could sprinkle throughout. And if you go into any series almost, I mean, it's almost impossible to have an airtight. I mean, even I'm a huge fan of Game of Thrones. But these White Walkers, they move really damn slow. I mean, they broke through the wall last season. And, they're moving really slow to get to Winterfell. Winterfell is like just down the street. And the guy's got a dragon. But, the plot necessitates these dead walking very slow. So okay, they're walking very slow to Winterfell. So even the greatest shows have these things where you say, why didn't they just do that? And Star Trek Discovery is far from the greatest of shows, but it's really great. I'm in love with Star Trek Discovery. Enjoyed it very much. But now we have the question, and then I leave that to you. Season 3, what do you think is going to happen? Because it really felt at the end of this episode like they were just setting up. Here is our Enterprise show that you all wanted with Captain Pike. I mean, it was all there. And I would be really excited for that. Now, would they do that? Season 3 of Star Trek Discovery? I mean, that was the original plan, right? Star Trek Discovery was supposed to be follow a different crew, a different story every season. Kind of like American Horror Story. But they changed it to no, let's follow one cast all the way through. Or one crew all the way through. But it really felt like a setup. I don't think they're going to do that for season 3. Who knows? So I'm really, really, really interested in the announcements coming out of CBS in the next couple of weeks of what are we setting up for. I mean, obviously we got the Picard series, Section 31, which, again, Georgiou went into the future with the Star Trek Discovery. So, how are they going to have a Section 31 show without Georgiou? Don't know. So, that part, there were a lot of questions for what's coming up for Season 3 of this show or just the future of Star Trek on CBS All Access as far as Pike and Spock. Because, I mean, man, they spent a lot of money and a lot of effects, and these actors are so great. I mean, the Enterprise looked beautiful. Oh my God, it was gorgeous. And to do all that just to be like, okay, I hope you enjoyed it. Never going to see it again. Wow. But they do that. But again, I don't think that they would announce any of that during the season so as to not detract or distract from their baby right now, which was this season, which was much better than season 1. So I understand that. So let's wait and see what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. You guys keep an eye in a year out for announcements, because there's sure to be a lot of announcements. So just a quick wrap up. I thought it was a great finale, especially compared to last year, which was a mess. I really loved the second half of last season until the final episode, which was just like, what? It just didn't work for me. This one, kind of the reverse. I thought that the last 4 or 5 episodes, they were okay. I mean, it moved the story along a little bit too soap opera-ish for me in parts, telenovela, which I don't think Star Trek Discovery does very well. The writers do very well. All the, the love triangles and the, does he love me, does he not love me? I was like, oh man, I don't care. But it moved the story along. But the finale was great. I mean, that's what they were all moving to. I didn't even mind that Michael was the Red Angel. I didn't. I was one of those that was definitely like, oh no, not her. Not Michael again. I mean, she's the center of the universe. and I mean, that's a criticism even among fans of Discovery. Obviously, those that don't like the show make that criticism, but even fans of the show think that, man, it's too much about Michael. We get it. She's the star of the show. It's got to be from her POV. But, Patrick Stewart was the star of Star Trek The Next Generation, and, everything wasn't about just him. Mulgrew was the star of Voyager. It wasn't all about her. And every other captain that, an actor that was the lead in their respective Star Trek series, it wasn't all about them. Like, the universe didn't circle around them. Not so much with Michael. And so when people thought, oh man, Michael's the Red Angel, it's like, not again. But they did it well. I mean, I was not upset. It didn't feel heavy-handed, like, oh, not her again. It felt like logical conclusion to the story. So I hats off to the writers, and I'm looking forward to season three because they struck the balance a little bit better this season, making this feel a little bit more like Star Trek, while also feeling like something new and fresh, which I think Star Trek needed. It's one of the reasons that it was not on television for a very long time, but almost 15 years or so, right? 2005 was it the last when Star Trek Enterprise went off the air? So because I mean it just got repetitive. Television's changed, and Star Trek has always been on the forefront of sci-fi, and it's been a leader, not the follower. So I think that it did its best in trying to do that again, being something different, fresh for a new generation of fans while making an older generation of fans happy. Season two did that much better than season one. Although I enjoyed season one, but it was very much forward thinking. It didn't really do much to connect to the past of Star Trek. Now, that's about it. I think I'm losing my voice here, so I think that means it's time to go. Thanks for watching. Okay, please like and subscribe. You can check out other reviews. I have at brazuza.wordpress.com. I just did a blog post about the OA, which has Jason Isaacs, by the way. Really great in that. The movie Shazam and Glass, which I watched very recently. The Bridge Point is where I post everything on Facebook, even music, because I do music, blog posts, podcasts. Game of Thrones, which I mentioned, is back. So Sunday nights, if you're up, you can hear my podcast. I'm doing it with a buddy of mine. So hopefully he'll be able to show up again this Sunday, and we will have a little podcast on that. So that's up if you look on the channel. And I guess you need to press the little bell to get notifications. And that's it, guys. It was a really fun season. Great season, actually. I enjoyed season 2 of Star Trek Discovery a lot. It had its down moments, but the up moments made up for it. Live long and prosper, everyone. And thank you very much, those that do follow and listen. I do this just out of pure enjoyment. I'm not making one penny from any of this. It's all pure enjoyment and being able to communicate with you guys and just having this moment together. So live long and prosper, and until the next Star Trek season or show or whatever CBS is planning to do, please comment below. Bye bye.